going back to the First Amendment, there are a lot of people who hate things about the government, but they are afraid to say anything because it's not polite to talk politics at the Thanksgiving table and like all this other nonsense. And like, oh, what if people don't like my opinion? And what if I say I don't like the FBI, I don't like the NSA, I don't like the IRS, and then they show up at my door because they think we're living in Australia or Nazi Germany or something, right? So like, so people are afraid, and this is something that people don't get about the First Amendment. To go back to that, they don't have to arrest you to take away your First Amendment rights. All they have to do is make you afraid to speak. Like that's all it takes. Because I've met so many people who are just like, I'm so glad you're just out there doing this thing because like I don't have the courage to say that. I'm like, what are you afraid of? And they're like, I don't know, stuff. I might lose my job. I might, and it's true. Like people lost their jobs just for voicing their opinions about a fucking that word that I'm trying to think of a word that rhymes with it.
Medical procedure.
Yeah, that's certain. Like people were losing their jobs over that. And it's like, all it takes is that fear to shut people up. And that's just as bad as losing your First Amendment right. Because like the point is you don't say the things that they don't like. And that's what they have effectively accomplished. They've silenced you. They've shut you up. So yeah, that's
You're ranting again.
Yeah, right into the dead end on that one.
No, well,
I
can pick up on that point, and that's something that happened to me after my 2022 Senate campaign. So I ran to be a senator of the great state of Western Australia, my home state. I miss it every day. I miss the beach so badly. I need to find a good beach around here, but I think I have to go to California for a good beach. Or the Gulf of America, is that? Or
no,
Mexico.
Honestly, yes, Mexico. Yeah, the California beaches are just as bad as the Gulf of America.
Yes, this is the sacrifice I've made moving here, leaving Australia's beaches. But yes, after my 2022 Senate campaign, when I ran on a simple platform, give gun owners a fair go. That was all I was asking. Just give us a fair go. We
Fairness,
do so please. And after that, I was cancelled. I couldn't get a professional job in all of Australia. The shooting organisations that worked with me ended up knifing me, exiling me. So it is a risk when you stand up and say things that people are more than happy to say to you privately. But when it comes down to it, how are you going to achieve change if you're not going to be bold and brave enough to say what everyone's thinking? And that's what you have done so boldly, so bravely, is wearing this big, giant, bloody yellow hat, parading around town to run to be a presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party. And that's how I came across you. So the work that you've done in this space, what's been the hardest thing for you? Has it been the people that are against you or just don't want to listen to reason? Or has there been a point when you're like, why am I even bothering? Because we're up against propaganda, we're up against government, we're up against our own friends in the libertarian circles. We all love a good argument. What's been the hardest thing for you running on this message that is fact? It's fact, and if you want to read about how it's fact, buy the book, please. Taxation is Theft on Amazon. Well, what's been the hardest thing for you, either professionally, personally? What has been the biggest sacrifice?
The hardest thing is probably, I don't know. I guess like it's really discouraging sometimes to see people who are just like so brainwashed that it's like, oh, this guy's beyond repair. But at the same time, like I usually like convince myself like, no, that's how my dad started out like that. Like he thought I was freaking crazy. He's like, it's like, what kind of propaganda are you making me watch? And like now he's like, hey, he sent me a picture of his phone. He's like, I put your taxation stuff sticker on the back. So it's like it really feels, it does feel hopeless a lot of times, but you just got to keep going at it. And like I saw this interview with Tony Robbins yesterday, and he's he's talking about how like you have to like, have your story in your head about how like you're, how you're doing great things and you're changing the world and everything's going great. And he's like, I even have doubts in my head sometimes. He's like, not so much anymore because I'm like the greatest world. It's like, it's funny. Like he literally went off on that tangent, which was pretty funny. But it's like, I get it, right? Because it's like, once you've kind of like conditioned yourself to just ignore like all the negative energy that comes in and all the negative information and all the naysayers, just be like, yeah, forget about that. It's like, it does make it easier to go on. But it's like, you see that sometimes, and sometimes it's just like, man, some of these people are so hopeless. And then it's like, how many of those people are out there? And it's like,
all of Australia.
and it's really difficult too, because like I've struggled with this for so long, and I've hit gold sometimes on social media, right? I had a video a few days ago that hit 250,000, which isn't like, it's not millions, but like it's big. And I have a video that I posted on Facebook. I want to say it was like late 2019, and it got 6 million views, not 6 million Jews, 6 million views. And in like a month, I mean, and most of it was like within the first 3 days. I know, it's like every time I say it, I'm like, anyways, I'm Jewish. I can make that joke. Okay. So, but it's like 6 million on Facebook. And I was like, man, this is amazing. And then I kept posting similar videos. I tried, keeping the same format, and I was getting 200,000 per video for like a couple weeks. And then it just dropped to like nothing. And I'm like, man, what the hell is going on here? I had optimized, I had my taxation and theft store, taxationtheft.info. I think it was taxationtheft.cards at the time. And I had all this traffic coming in from Google. And then it's like one day, I think it was called Panda. They switched the algorithm. Nothing. And I'm like, man, I spend all this time following all their rules, building all these systems. And it's like, at the end of the day, it all goes away.
Like a switch.
Yeah. And I'm reading now about like how they're like, I'm witnessing it too, like how their AI is like, when you Google something now, they give you the answer you're looking for, but they give you like links, like they give you links that are like, okay, so supposedly they got their answer from these links, but you click on these links and like the answer is not on there, and they don't want you going to these websites anymore. I was talking to somebody, they were like, help me get more, how do I make this business out of this website? They're like, all that ever happens now is the bots come along. She's like, I work with all these different organizations and I schedule their events and I put them all on my calendar on my website. Now the bots just come along and scrape it. And now when someone's like, what's going on in my city? It just comes up on Google and they never click through to her website, and she loses all the advertising opportunity, the opt-ins, collect emails and all this other stuff. And like, so like AI is like, it's basically trying to take over. And then eventually what's going to happen is she's going to go out of business. She's going to shut down her website. And then the AI is not going to have any source to pull all this information from, because like she has no incentive to create it anymore. So like all these all this stuff is discouraging, but at the same time, like I feel like it's an equilibrium, right? Because like exactly that, right? Once the AI runs out of information to program itself on, then it's going to be gone, right? And it's like, okay, so then it's going to create an opportunity for people like fill in the blanks and say, okay, we're going to create the information. So there's going to have to be some way that these systems can kind of coexist, where people can, because ultimately it depends on people. Like people are the creators of this information, the creators of the stuff that happens in the real world. Get off the internet and actually go outside and do stuff. And like, there's so much stuff going on. So yeah, I hit all kinds of like road bumps with all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I think there's like, you just got to like refocus on like the good stuff and like what's actually going on and what's being created and what's keeping humanity together. Because that's where the stuff is.